find my reason to survive. It doesn't matter where, how, or when, we will find it in the end. Looking up high. These memories, they're all in separated fragments. Who are you and who am I? It doesn't matter if it's day or night, neither if it's dark or light. All I know is that I'll never lose this fight. And I'll try again until the end to find myself where you left. And I'll climb again to the end with broken wings. I'll fly. This fragile world that seems to crumble all around us. Without a chance for us to breathe, it only takes a little spark of light. Our never-ending will to fight, live or die, do what's right. And you'll try again, forward till the end, to find yourself where I left. And you'll climb again to the end with broken wings. You And we'll try again until the end. We'll find ourselves in this torn up land. Climb again to the end with broken wings. We'll fly.
Well, testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. We'll start in 20 seconds. And ladies and gentlemen, it's 11 o'clock GMT plus 8. Thank you for coming and welcome to Introduction to Soundscaping. Now, before we start this masterclass, people will just slowly start to trickle in, so I'm just keeping this real casual, alright? Let's have a little warning today, alright? So all of the content today has received permission from the producers themselves. We're going to showcase a bunch of works today. It's stuff that has been done before. It was under NDA, received permission. So please don't just go spreading things around, alright? So the next thing is, if for some reason after listening to this this introduction, you suddenly transcend, you ascend into, get some enlightenment, get an epiphany, become a pro. Well, it's not my fault, it's all you, right? So if you feel that this is useful, just share it, man. Like, I'm cool with it. I'm just gonna save this later on my Twitch so y'all can share this around. Cool. Yep, I can see the numbers picking up. So, Introduction to Soundscaping. A look into content, making music and sound for content that don't suck. Right? So, what are we going to discuss today? What we're going to discuss today is about something called the soundscape. You don't hear this term really thrown out quite a lot. Basically, we're also going to talk about what you see versus what you hear, the priority in the audio list, what makes a good soundscape. I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I've done before, and I'm going to show you guys a project, okay? So some of these terms don't make sense right now. But so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go through everything. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna explain everything one by one. It's probably gonna take about an hour or so. So let me just introduce myself real quick. My name's Elmer. You, I also go by the handle Elmer Draco. So it's been like for many, many years I've been using these terms. So I'm not telling you how old I am. This picture was taken quite some time ago. So I've been working 16 years in the indie games, AAA games, and the film industry. Worked in Tokyo for a couple of years. Went to work a little overseas, sometimes in Boston and sometimes in other countries for for recordings and all that. So worked on some animes as well, some VA, some a bunch of stuff, right? So you can catch me at these websites. Well, I don't. The only thing I don't really have is an OnlyFans. Sorry. Oh well, Perakuma1129. I'm sorry, man. Like, maybe in the future, if I have enough numbers, I'll consider an OnlyFans, right? So, who is this session good for, right? Let's talk a little bit about who this session is good for. So, if you see the list up here, it's great for content creators. It's great for developers. It's great for filmmakers, VTubers, advertising, musicians, sound designers, just regular people who like music, and other people. So I know I got like a couple of people here. So could you type in the chat just type in the number, which one are you? Just like, give it a minute or two just to like just 10 seconds, just well, let's do 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So yeah, we got a combination of people here doing various different tasks. That's very interesting. So we have game developers here. Awesome, awesome. Yo, welcome to the stream. So 2 and 8, hobbyist and game developers. All right, there's more game developers here. There is music, there's composers here. So awesome, fantastic. Well, welcome to the stream. So let's talk a little bit about this. What is a soundscape, right? Now, this term, you don't really hear much of like what a soundscape is, right? You hear landscape, you hear sound design, you hear music, you hear a lot of things like that. You hear you hear voiceovers, you hear a bunch of things, but no one really talks about the term soundscape. And I'm here to tell you guys what is a soundscape. So, in order to think about what a soundscape is, we've got to first think about this. What you see versus what you hear. Alright? We've got to remember this. Audio, music, is something that you do not see with your eyes. It's something that you hear, and it's something that you experience. So, let me give you an example. Let's talk about the layers, right? The foreground, the middle ground, and the background. Okay, welcome to the stream, As. So let's think about this for a second, right? When we talk about layers, right? This is more of an art terminology or a Shinkirin analysis kind of theory for those who take masters and PhD. So when you look at a picture, you can immediately see what the main focus is. Just take a look at the picture on your left and you can see some really, really, really creepy stuff going on. Oh well, everyone's first time listening to soundscape stuff. So the background, all these art stuff. This is a picture, right? This is a really old meme. So whatever is in the foreground is basically what catches your attention first, the main focus of the picture. The middle ground is whatever that enhances it. I'll explain how this functions in audio later, but it's more of an art term at this point. And the background is what supports the whole entire layers. It's a little bit interesting to think about, right? So let's look at this picture. Now, this was the first picture after I came back to Malaysia. Well, I'm Malaysian, so after I came back to Malaysia from working overseas and all that, this was the first thing I ate, right? I had to come back and this was the first thing that was in season. I love it. Don't judge. All right. So, let me ask the chat one question, since we have enough people right now. What is in the foreground? What's the main focus of this picture? Right here. Just so you know, the VTuber is not part of the thing. The durian, exactly, right? Thank you. T microwaver. T microwaver. Nice. Stanley, nice. Kuma, thank you. All of it is durian. It's all about the durian, right? The main focus is the fruit right here. Now, what is the background? Now, there's many ways to answer this question. This is easy. We're doing it on easy mode first. We're doing it via the art method first. Yeah, it's the table, right? It is the table. Well, there's not really a cover. This is like the plastic stuff that you guys get at coffee shops or hawkers for Singaporeans. Yeah, it's just a table and maybe an arm here, right? So, and you can even argue that, this one right here is part of the background as well. Now, here's the question. What is the middle ground? Dangerously hard to answer because this is not a black and white thing. It's a spectrum, right? The foreground being the far, and the other far is the foreground. So what is the middle ground? Yeah, I would argue the spikes are part of the middle ground. The shadows, the shadows right here, the shadows, the spikes, then there's all these things. These shadows right here, the things that give detail, that gives life to things. That is the middle ground. Combine them and you get a nice little picture. Let's do another one. This is way more complex. Same question. What's in the foreground? Let's start with foreground, right? So what's in the foreground? This is a lot harder, actually. It's a huge jump in difficulty. Have a guess. What's in the foreground for this picture? By the way, this is a picture I took a few years back in Nakano. I really like the unagi there, so it's an amazing place to go. If you ever go to Japan, you have to go to Nakano Broadway. This is on the, if I'm not mistaken, from the station on the right-hand side, right? Man, in the foreground, ad boards, right? Of course, like, the one that says Taraji, pizza and wine. All these are in your face. These are the things that catch your attention. They're designed that way to catch your attention, correct? Then, well, I would say that, this particular shadow right here is in the foreground, right? It's taking up the attention. But what about, oh yeah, this is, and then you got like a bunch of other stuff like, yakiniku, and that's really nice. So what is in the background? Now, this background in particular is very busy. It's a very busy background, to be honest. Right? The sky is part of the background, these wires are part of the, well, not really. But like, these buildings and like, moving forward a little bit, you get stuff like these wires, right? And then these extra shadows, these people are not really the things that, take your attention away, but it's there to enhance it, right? And so when you look at audio, right? Yeah, it's two humans. You wouldn't even know until you point it out. So think about it this way. In every single creative process, there's a triple layer thing going on, right? I'll quote Heinrich Schegger on this. Not every layer is built equal, yet not every layer is unimportant, right? So think about it this way. This is what we call a landscape. This is what we call a picture. This can be applied to art as well, right? So this is something you see visually. Now, take the same logic and apply it to sound. Now, I'm going to walk you through this. Let's make it easy. You know about the components in a landscape. Now, what is a component is a soundscape. In a soundscape, we have music. We have sound effects. We have ambience, stingers, sweeteners. Now, more than half of these terms you probably don't understand. Music. Just so you know, I'm playing that live. Sound effects, right? Or these are actually stuff that makes sound. Ambience, well, if you can hear my voice, I'm just gonna bypass my denoiser. Actually, let's not do that. It's really noisy here. There's like bikes going outside. There's a, and like, there's a bunch of people like chit-chatting outside. So let's not do that. Stingers, sweeteners, voice. When we look into film stuff in a while, which is what I'm gonna do in a bit, we will talk about stingers, right? Sweeteners as well. VA, voice, and miscellaneous. Lay this down, and it becomes a soundscape. It's the audio experience, right? It paints a picture. Now, let's take a look at this. When we take a look at this picture right here, now I'm not gonna say what game it is because I don't want to get striked on the internet, right? They're pretty tough. So when you look at this, what do you hear? What can you hear? And I don't think I need to let you know what. Yeah, you hear coins, right? But let me guess, it doesn't sound like this. That is absolutely not the sound, right? Then this, is it this one? Well, not really, right? It doesn't make sense to have like, this character hitting a brick sounding like that. It's almost there. Well, I would imagine if he punches the brick and it sounds like this, it's gonna cause some problems, right? So most likely it sounds like this, right? Or you have the breaking sound first, then you have that. It is a process. It is something that you experience, right? It gives you an audio cue using sound effects. What about this? What do you hear from something like this? What can you hear? Wind rustling. That's a very nice observation. What else do you hear? I hear the grass. Yes, that's exactly wind and grass. You guys are doing amazing. Wind, grass. What else? What else? Cicadas. There was a bunch of cicadas. It was like very close, like somewhere like close to winter at this time. I took this picture, but it had a story behind it actually. So for the previous pictures, we talked about sound effects, right? But now, let's talk a little bit about music. Let's paint you a picture. Oh, this is not. Oh, this is definitely not Malaysia. No. It's not an airplane thing flying. Well, probably you could hear an airplane if you hear close enough, but no. So, let me tell you something. The sound effect is a little bit more straightforward here. You can definitely see all these grass. You can even feel that some wind is blowing, and you hear it rustle. Then you can hear like people shouting in the background. If there's any people behind you, you can hear like like people walking through the grass if you ever see them. It just enhances the experience, right? There's no people here right now. There's a river here, so you could, if you so ever want to, you could put a little bit of water sound. But here's the thing. Believe it or not, I can take this picture and I can give you 2 different moods in it. 2 different moods. Here's the first mood, alright? And then what I can do is I can bring it to a higher mood. And I can bring it down low. And notice when I play in the middle range, when I play in the high range, very gently versus when I play the extreme low range. It changes the mood even with, in music, the same tonality. I'm playing in the same tonality. It gives you a relaxed feel. It makes you feel chill just by changing the musical elements behind it. But what happens if I change something else? Let me change it to what I actually saw that day. Now, what happened there? What was the difference between the first track and the second track? It's just piano, but you can hear a very, very large difference. What is the difference? It's simple. The first one gave you a more relaxing feeling. There is much more dissonance. Let me tell you the story of this picture. It was a picture taken one day after the eruption of Mount Aso, Aso-san. And let me tell you, a lot of the plants, vegetation, turned brown because it's fall, but this river here is a river of lava. Right on the left, there were buildings that were decimated by the eruption, by the earthquake. It was the Kumamoto earthquake that happened a few years back. There were a lot of people who lost their buildings and everything, and so the sound of destruction, right? The sound of people's uneasiness. Notice how, just by changing the tonality of the music, what happened is I've changed the context of the story completely. Now, that is just with music alone. Imagine now the sound effects come back in, right? The wind rustling, the grass, and now I add the sound of flowing lava. And I add a person crying next to me, right? Suddenly, this isn't a relaxing piece anymore. This piece of work here is now one of the most depressing things that you've ever seen. Context. Context is very important right here. And so it is the job of the audio person, the musicians, and the people of the talent team to create that soundscape for people. What is the picture that you're trying to paint for your audience, right? So, what do we look for in a good soundscape? What do we look for in a good soundscape? I'm going to show you some projects, right? 2 videos and 1 video game that I've worked on. The first one is this. Tiger Shark. I worked on this with a Hong Kong channel. Now, I just want to give everyone here some context, right? When we received this video, there was no sound. All of these things, when we receive them, they are absolutely empty and void of any sound, any audio, any music, everything, right? And so, how do we solve this problem? Let's have a look and see what you can spot. When we received this video, it was as you see it right now. There's nothing, right? There's no sound. It's just visuals. The first thing you see here is a bunch of animations. And sometimes when we receive these things, we don't even get like the full animation, right? It's just like drawn. So we kind of have to figure out what the animations are, right? I've received permission from Ocean Creative to showcase this, so don't worry about copyright. We're good. So when we watch this, there's a lot of things going on. See, even as he's pushing through the water, there should be sound there. Everything that falls behind him, sound. By the way, this comic is from an age where, like, you know, everybody was into Hokuto no Ken or JoJo stuff. So every guy was buff as hell. Yeah. It's just that era of comics, right? Like, you guys can look this up later. Amazing guys. So, yep, see, there's a lot of stuff going on, right? The impacts and everything. And the whooshes and pow, 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 pew, pew, pow. There's a lot of stuff going on. Oh, the title is called Tiger Shark. Tiger Shark or Warlords. You can call, they're by Ocean Creative or, yeah. And you see, there's a lot of stuff going on right here. And so, before we talk about the music, let's talk about the sound effects, right? Let me show you what we hear versus what they hear, what everyone hears. Now, I'm gonna start this from zero. I'm gonna play this. I don't have the video file anymore just because, like, you know, there's a clause that says I shouldn't keep the file after the thing is done. But I'm just gonna do this. I have this. So notice that we preemptively have the sound come in even before we go into the scene. It just fades in. Oops, the thing's a little bit late. Oops, yeah, it's a little bit delayed. And what happened here is we had less music here, right? Less sound effects here, just so we can have the music take over. I'll show you everything with the music later. But notice every single layer right now is being prioritized, right? Like, you know, every single punch has just so many things going on. It's not just the punch, it's the whoosh, it's the electronic sounds, it's the power-up sounds, even the small little footsteps. Yep, and so on. That itself was just the sound effects, right? There's just so many things going on. I'm just gonna like bring up this one just so you all understand. So let's just take one of these samples, right? Let's just say this part right here. When his power up, now, when he swings that fist, right, behind like this, it's one sound to swing behind, one body movement, the clothing, the wind rustle that goes behind him, the electricity, that power whoosh. This whole entire movement alone has at least 8 layers to make it sound that robust. And same goes for this guy. And when they whoosh, they hit, and then this shockwave impact. And if one layer of shockwave isn't enough, we have to add a second layer of shockwave, just so that the first layer of shockwave becomes stronger. So if we listen to that part, so 1 minute to 110. Yeah. It's really busy. Don't get me wrong, it's really, really busy. Now, then that gives the impact but it doesn't give the emotional part of it. How do we get that? We use music. We use some of the craziest music that I've ever done. Well, not really crazy, but it was simple, but it was effective. Now let's play it with the music, and you guys get to hear it in its absolute glory. You change the mood right here. You're bringing the horns. There's a lot of danger. You're foreshadowing something happening. And then he looks like an army person, so give him a little bit of snares, right? Give him a little bit of drums. Cut off the music. Give it suspense. And when they clash, the music comes back. You know, exactly right. It is huge. Just because, like, one or two things is like missing or not, like it actually, yeah, you see, exactly. Sometimes these kind of stuff, like, you don't realize until it's really not there anymore. And that's become something that is oftentimes overlooked by productions, be it whether you are a content creator, you're a game developer, you are a VTuber, you are a filmmaker. A lot of times audio is the last piece of the puzzle. It may not seem like much, but statistically, it contributes to at least 30%, up to 60% and above. 60% and above is usually if it's like rhythm games, right? Or like rhythmic based stuff like musicals and all that. But it contributes to a large chunk of the immersion, right? Some amazing titles that we ever have were always accompanied with some of the best sound design and soundtrack, A Quiet Place, amazing sound design. Undertale, amazing soundtrack, memorable. It's crazy. Where do you sign up? I'll tell you later. I'm going to show you guys something later, but don't worry too hard about it. So let's take a look at a second category of example, video games. Now, I can't actually show you the implementation system because in video games, we actually have an extra system where we actually have to code the audio in and use something called an audio middleware to make it happen. Now, unfortunately, due to NDA reasons, I'm not able to show you all that today, and I'm not going to, but I will show you a session file of how some of these sound effects are created, right? Just a little sneak peek. This game is called Never Ending Beyond. It's something that One More Dream Studio is currently working on. So I got permission from Bala, an amazing guy, to showcase his stuff. So this is the video that I got, and it's an amazing video. It really is. It's a much simpler idea now because the requirements aren't as crazy as the other one. but this one is pretty straightforward, right? It's a pixel game, a pixel roguelike game. So for me, it's fine. So, alright, so just by taking a look at this video, some of the things that we see here are, you know, the hands moving, right? And then locking into place, legs moving, locking into place, and another hand. The UI, like this battery thing coming out, bloop, 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 bloop. And what it would be really good to have here is something like bloop, 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 bloop. You know, it goes up in pitch rather than just bloop, 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 bloop. It's boring, right? So, and then like, you know, the CRT TV kind of thing going on. And you see like those hearts coming in and like a power up meter. Eyes open and it's conscious, right? So the first layer that I placed in there was the ambience, right? Obviously something like this in this room has machine sounds and a bunch of stuff, but you know, we kept the ambience rather simple. This is what it sounds like. And just take a look, right? What I'm having is the ambience, right? Think of it as the air conditioning. Now, it doesn't really make too much sense right now, does it? It's just air. Now, I'll tell you why I did it like this later. And here are the eyes. Right? Pitch it different, right? Pitch it different. You know, plop, 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 plop. And then when he's finally conscious, have it a little bit higher pitched. We have a little bit of a battery. Just created like a nice little 8-bit chiptune sound to go with this layer right here. Right? Just to create that robotic sound. Just now, what we did was we did the batteries, right? And now, what we're doing is these limbs that it has. So it has a hover sound, and then it clicks in place. And that's the idea of what we want to do. We just want it to hover and click. So I add a little bit of a hover sound using an electric razor. Now, it doesn't sound like an electric razor because I've added like a bunch of effects and EQ. Naturally, it sounds like this. Yeah, the stuff that you shave yourself with. And you EQ it a little bit. Because I want the low ends. Add a bit of effects to it. Now it sounds like a hovering sound. So now, I'm gonna add this one. And this is an electricity layer. This is a sample that I got, you know, from like sequencing and serum and something. So before and after with the electricity. And now we add the limbs to it. Hearts. Now, that's like not even done yet. I'm not even done yet. We have the UI, we have the activate, and we have the plasma machine. And I'm not even done yet. Over at this part, when this thing goes up, we added a helicopter sound too. So here's the thing. This helicopter layer sounds a little bit weird. It sounds like this. Oops, I should have unmuted everything first and then solo. That's just a really nice like Krotos sample that I used for like from helicopters, right? And you know, if you blend it all together, it becomes like this. Add a nice little piano right there, just so that you have him coming well, it's a him, I confirmed with the producer. Have him coming coming alive. And it started to have emotions, right? And so you add this chord right here. It's a... Oh, let me just see if I can play this. It's not quite that, right? It is something laid out in fifths. Squeak air fart. There's a bunch of... wait, squeak air fart? Man, I really should organize this. So, okay. Somebody's curious and asking what's this squeak air fart. This is what it sounds like. It's for our next scene. Yeah, no joke. We used a fart to do glass wipes. And then you add it with some, water foley. And you get something like that, right? The beauty of sound design. This is pretty simple, right? This is nothing like the previous film short, trailer that we watched, right? This is much more simple, but it's effective because it gets the message across. Now, there's no music here. I just wanted to demonstrate sound using this project. Never Ending Beyond, really check them out. They have amazing visuals. Some spoilers here. This is one of the... I'm not gonna say any more than that. So, check them out. This is a really great game. So, it's a roguelite if you like that kind of stuff. Now, let's take a look at something much longer. And this time, with voice as well. Let's take a look at something that has VA. Let's take a look at something that requires a lot of emotions. This film, even though it had so little views over here, it was nominated as the finalist in one of the Facebook groups that I was in. It was for filmmakers. And as I think, if I'm not mistaken, before it got taken down for the next batch, there were over 50,000 views. Have a listen. Right? Dubbed in Cantonese, right? When we got it, of course, there was no subtitles yet. But here's the thing. The story of this is that we wanted to get into the competition. I was working with Tiny Sword to make this happen, Joe and the gang. And what happened was they did a really good job in filming this with some local celebrities, and what they did was absolutely phenomenal. Once I've gotten this lock picture, we had to score it. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we were just given about 9 days or less to do everything. It wasn't because we wanted to crunch. It's just because, it took that long to make a good cut. And the music was composed in about 2 days or less, actually. And the sound design, well, roughly the same time. For this short film, right? And this is one of, I would say, one of the most emotional works that I've ever done. Just simply because of what is required. Now, I'm going to play this with the audio, and I'm going to explain bit by bit because it's slow enough.
女啊，你快啲接電話啊！快啲接電話啊，女！
See, music stops there. Regular.
喂，係咪阿蘭啊？
阿爸啊！
喂，係咪阿蘭啊？
阿蘭喺度。
喂，阿蘭。
係啦，阿蘭啊！老人痴呆得你啊，識得玩電話嘅。
Thanks for coming,
阿
Alex.
蘭啊，
喂，
So
叫阿蘭翻嚟。
notice when
老豆又喺度玩
the
電話。
people are talking, there's still ambience going on, and there's a perspective in which the speakers are speaking through different speakers, right? Like say, when it transitions to this scene, the mom suddenly sounds a little bit more like, you know, low pass. There's a little bit of distortion because it's going through the phone,
遲啲就係㗎啦。
like right now.
喂，
And we had to exaggerate the phone call drop.
喂媽，
喂，女啊，媽你冇事啊嘛？
係啊，我都唔知咩事啊。
And
呢個
over
電
here,
話
you hear the
疏疏地㗎
daughter, like, you know, a little
好似
muffled because
講
it's
咗
coming from the phone.
緊要啦，等你翻嚟再講。
We exaggerated a little bit so that, like, you know, the audience could hear it too.
記得帶雞蛋翻嚟咯喎。媽，拜拜。
And here's where the emotion starts to build up. We wanted to tell a story of a family. And so we let the music take over. The footsteps, the clothing, done from scratch.
阿蘭，你翻嚟啦！
我係阿蓮啊，爸。
阿蓮，阿蘭咧？阿蘭咧？
阿蘭喺度啊，呢個你女阿蓮。
And the music builds up thicker here, just ever so slightly.
阿
The
蓮，
strings come in because the whole family is here.
阿蘭，阿蓮，
知咧係你啊老豆，嚟啦，我哋去食飯啦。
阿蓮，阿蘭，
係啦，食飯啦，嚟啦。
And when there's no VA,
阿蘭，
we let the sound effects and the music take over.
阿蘭，
And when they start speaking, the music and sound goes down. The ambience
老爺，
tone down.
是阿蘭啊。
Oh, my bad. The robot is taking over.
阿爸，你個頭髮越嚟越長啦！嚟，剪下頭髮先。如果唔係頭髮食飯噶啦。阿媽做咩唔帶阿爸去剪頭髮咧？佢頭髮唔俾人掂噶，話剪咗頭髮會忘記要。
唔記得。
And we have a slight build up here.
哇，係啊！個電話咧唔知咩事疏疏地喎。
阿蓮，
We shout silence. 4-5 for those musicians to know.
電話壞咗啊！阿蘭咪。
And now we resolve it after a long suspension.
哎呀，做咩收埋啲咁嘅錢？啲新電話唔識用嘅，好舊嘅。嚟啦，我教你用啦。
All of these were done by a process called Foley, where we just took, like, you know, the actual plates and we just recorded them and, you know, made the cutlery sound, right? For the sound designers, you guys know exactly what it is.
佢媽媽冇打俾我嘅。
So every time she moves her hand, you know, there's this clothes whooshing, like, it's something that has to be made. Like water, these are all Foley stuff, right? And we had to exaggerate the phone call as well, because otherwise no one could hear it.
女啊，
喂媽，點啊？識唔識用架新電話啊？
我唔識用喎。呢個電話我一直都打唔到俾你嘅，我都唔知要點打。
我尋日咪教咗你咯，力拉落嚟，撳左邊，再撳右邊，之後撳青色嗰粒就揾到我噶啦。
哦，
And
阿蘭啊，係咪阿蘭啊？
the ambience, you can hear it changes scene to scene.
喂，係咪咁啊？嚇？
媽
This one has a more office kind of ambience.
我㗎。
And this one had a more like street kind of
翻嚟
ambience.
啦，阿蘭。
Just
媽，你都未冚電話。
哦，我刪咗電話，再打俾你啊。
just so you know, the chickens weren't there. Those are actually sample libraries as well.
女啊，連啊。
Let's continue with this. Like, you know, there's just 7 more minutes, right? Broke immersion. So where we all right, there was like a whole entire moment where they had a dialogue, all right, and we just had the VA take over. And once we had the VA take over, we basically had no music, all right? But in this scene, you will notice something. The music is used for a different purpose, and everything is just sound from now on.
要使開28嘅喎，
32唔貴咯。
計平啲啦。
係啊，見咁熟，30蚊俾你啦。
喂，呢個嘛，我要呢隻。
好。
打電話俾個女，睇幾點翻嚟先。
And notice the ambience change, right? All these cars were done with sound design, by the way. Shout out to the sound design team. You had some instruments coming in, really foreboding, something horror coming in. And all the sound effects goes away. Cinematic downer. Change of scene.
你等我接個電話，好啊。
And all the ambience disappears. And here, like, we just let the music take over. There was no sound,
嚟女，
except
你最中意嘅
those
豉油雞。
what we call heart effects, right?
女，媽，
Wishes, and then the ambience comes back.
Á Lan係咪你啊？阿蘭，喂，聽唔聽到？聽唔聽到？
阿爸你同邊個講電話
聽唔
啊？
聽？阿蘭啊，阿蘭打嚟啊！阿蘭打嚟啊！阿
喂
蘭啊！阿蘭打嚟啊！
喂，
阿蘭翻嚟啦！阿蘭打嚟啊！阿蘭，喂，阿蘭啊，聽唔聽到？聽唔聽到？快啲翻嚟！
阿爸你唔好咁樣啦，
翻嚟啦！
阿媽已經走咗噶啦。
喂，阿蘭聽唔聽到？阿蘭，喂。
You know, when it got depressing, the music came in. And we have like a bit more an ominous
到咩地方
ambience right now.
我點解喺度㗎？
你因為放唔低你嘅老公同嘅女，所以你唔可以安心上路。
安心上路？我死咗？我死咗咩？冇可能嘅！我明明喺度買緊餸㗎。冇可能。
因為人生思念未放得低，所以就會墮入一個空間，心頭放唔低嘅亡靈。
And here's some melancholy right here.
我求下你，我求下你，俾我見我女同我老公最後一面。我仲有好多嘢未同佢哋講㗎，我要同佢哋做最後嘅告別啊！求下你啊，俾我見佢哋最後一面啊！
人鬼有別，即使你上到去，佢哋都見
You have
你。
simple chords,
今次只會俾我
strings,
聽下佢哋把聲啊！我求下
and
你啊
everything
唔
just
該你啊
moving.
無理
Alright?
亦是如此。即使你聽到人間嘅鈴聲，人間都聽唔到靈界嘅呼叫。
好介意啊！好介意啊！我求下你啊！我最重要就係要聽到佢哋把聲啊！我求下你啊！唔該你啊！
既然如此，你有最後一次機會之後，你就要安心上路。
And then a whoosh back to reality. And the music suddenly stops. This music comes in.
女啊，你快啲接電話啊！
And the strings move in such a way, you know, that's building tension. It's going up, it's going higher
女，
and higher and higher.
阿蘭，你喺邊度啊？
老公，係我啊！你聽唔聽到我講嘢啊？
你喺邊度啊？喺邊度啊？翻嚟啦！翻嚟啦！
阿爸，你又同邊個傾電話啊？
Notice that the reverb over here and the reverb where the mom is also two different VA reverb
阿
zones.
蘭翻嚟啦！快啲翻嚟啦！啊
The space is completely different.
女，阿媽呢度啊！你聽唔
This one
聽到我
echoes
講
way
嘢啊
more. Just because it's like a infinite space, we wanted to create that.
可唔可以唔去玩電話啊？
你聽唔聽到我講嘢啊？
再唔講嘢我冚噶啦。
冇收線啦，嚟！
阿蘭啊，
我好掛住你啊，媽！阿媽都好掛住你哋啊！
And here, we just let the VA and the music take over.
翻嚟啦，阿蘭翻嚟啦，喺邊度啊？
老公，
你快啲翻嚟啦！我好痛啊！
Ah, yes.
我想食你煮嘅飯。
Somebody noticed.
煮飯好好食，好好食啊！你快啲翻嚟啦！阿蘭。
老公，你要好好照顧自己啊！知唔
And
知
build
啊
up.？
叫阿蘭翻嚟，翻嚟啦！
媽，我會好照顧阿爸㗎。
翻嚟啦！翻嚟啦！
唔使擔心我哋，你一定要安心上路啊！
翻嚟啊！
乖，
翻嚟啊！阿蘭翻嚟啊！翻嚟啊！阿蘭翻嚟啦！翻嚟啦！阿蘭翻嚟啦！你食飯啦
And then you want to build it up a little, just a little bit here.
阿蘭煮嘢好好食㗎，食飯啦！阿蘭翻嚟啦！翻嚟，食飯啦！食飯啦！食飯啦！好食！食飯啦！食飯！阿蘭啦！
阿爸，你仲記唔記得呢位係邊個啊？
第八。
買雞蛋。
It's a little bit more than just soundscaping, right? It's about evoking that emotion. Just keep it simple. Sometimes, you don't have to have the most complex harmony, but, it's great to have the most complex harmony. And when we look at stuff like this, there's just so much details that go into a work, right? So the question here, we go back to this. The components in a soundscape. When we have all these components layered differently, let's talk about what is in the foreground, what is in the middle ground, and what is in the background at any time. Correct? What you want to stand out, what you want to highlight the mood. Sweeteners like those stingers, right? Some of you call it that, like those effects. Those come out in the foreground suddenly and just disappears into the background. The ambience hides in the background most of the time. It does come out every once so often if you want to like the mood. When when they were taking that phone call, when the SFX comes out in the forefront, it's usually in exciting scenes where not so much dialogue goes on. The sound effects just takes over. And for really, really emotionally heavy, be it sad, angry, the music takes over. It's a ever-changing thing, right? It's not a fixed thing. If you're live streaming like this, well, I'm not doing it today because I don't have those components that I'm too poor to do art. But anyway, like if you're doing a live stream, you have those like intro screens, right? Then you have music being like a major component. And then after that, what you have is like, before you start, suddenly the sound effects take over, and then the voice takes over. It depends on what you're aiming for. And if you want to have like a more kind of dialogue-y kind of thing, by all means, voice. Right? If you are going just purely off, I know a lot of streamers, right? They have a voice board that goes a little bit something like this. Or... And these we would consider stingers, right? And these are just one-shots to highlight that moment. And what you heard that just now, like somebody mentioned in the comments earlier, I heard, oh, the dialing song in the theme, right? Amazing stuff. Because sometimes you can interrelate all these layers. Like how the phone was deet, 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 deet. I sat down with the sound designer at that time. And what we did was we were like, hey, let's go on like, the number pad. And let's find a melody using the number pad. So I sat together as the audio director. And just like, dun, 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 dun. And we did it in D, if I'm not mistaken, it was a D major. And we did a da 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 da. And so we took that idea. Da 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 da. We repeated that, and it became like a recurring theme. Like what we call this in film scoring, we call that a leitmotif, yes? A motif that just comes back, right, when they're talking about family. Now, these kind of things can be crafted in the soundscape by experienced musicians, sound designers. And for developers, for creators and all that, I'm gonna be very honest with you. You can include this in your script, in your development documents, in anything you're looking for. And that kind of stuff makes or breaks a very good production, right? It's either you make like something that's just out of this world, or you make something that works. But, it could just take that boost forward, right? And that's one of the reasons why we get custom musicians and custom sound designers, right? Mix, master, everything. Now we're even doing 7.2, 11.2. The possibilities are endless. Soundscape is just like such a huge topic, and this is just an introduction, right? So, at the end of the day, I am having an upcoming course on the 24th or the 25th of of August. Now, I'm just going to take this link right here. I'm just going to copy it right here. Let me just share it. Copy a link to invite others. Okay, fantastic. I'm just going to paste it on Twitch. I'm going to have a Q&A session after this, so do stay back. So, alright. So, register here, right? So I'm just going to take this, and I'm going to pin this message to the top. Manually unpin, or yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm just going to pin this message here on the Twitch chat, if you all can see it right here. It's just right up here. I've just pinned that real quick. And this is what we're going to do in this soundscaping masterclass. We're going to spot media in detail. We're going to do the asset sheet. We're going to look at what makes or breaks a production, right? We're also going to learn what scoring effective music to evoke emotion would. Tell you what, during this masterclass, I'll do it in front of you. I'll make it happen for you. And you'll see the results immediately. Now we're going to talk about sound design, how and when to use. Notice that the robot, we could have filled it up with so much more things. For the experienced sound designers, you know exactly what I mean. But why did I only choose to do only that amount of sound? Think about it for a sec. Why? Why do we choose not to highlight everything, but only certain priority sounds? It's not because they've been paying me enough. They paid me extremely well, and I left them for that. Shout out to you, Bala. And creating that balanced soundscape that just elevates your production to the next level, right? It doesn't matter if you're a filmmaker, it doesn't matter if you're a content creator, it doesn't matter if you're a game designer. A balanced soundscape helps everyone. Mix and master for different platforms, like say for example on YouTube earlier, in order for us to upload it, we have to master it to -14. So for those of you who are musicians, content creators, know that, like, you know, when you upload your music sometimes, you know, you notice your voice disappears, right? Or your instruments just become ultra loud and your drums disappear. You need to master them, right? So the tools, of course, I'm not going to go on too much of this. Detailed guidance on how to get results. So how do you participate? So it is an online course. I've posted the link in the thing, and the thing is that, you know, it brings you to this page, right? And all you have to do is, you know, click on this link to register, right? It brings you to this forum. There's a whole entire instruction on how to do it. You know, just like, you know, take your age group, you know, stuff. PayPal me via this, and you'll be good to go. And here are the details, right? It's a 4-hour session. It's a master class. You choose your dates. There's an early bird, and then there's a late bird. And of course, this is the online one. For the offline one, I'm actually very happy to announce to you guys that, like, I'm partnering with Teen Edge to do the physical course at King Studio, our very first studio in Malaysia, right? And Yue Lang Tai Bao, the singing was done there, so we're very proud to host it there. So if you are in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, or if you're from the neighboring countries, or you happen to take a holiday here, it's 150 ringgit, but the seats are extremely limited. Now, to know that, just visit their website, just look for Teen Edge, and you'll be fine. You know, the owners are amazing. You should talk to her. She'll be happy to guide you around, right? Now, the question, of course, will be, this is my last slide before the Q&A. So what will you get out of this? Simple. You'll be guided by, I'll guide you personally for this. I've been in the industry for over 16 years, right? So I'll get you insight to the latest tools used to get industry standard, you know, just from your bedroom. You don't have to be anywhere else in the world. All you have to do is you do it from your bedroom, right? As a creator, you'll be able to spot and give directions. Now, this is a thing that I've seen young creators do. There is an inherent fear of dealing with audio people and vice versa, right? And what I aim to do is I aim to close this gap so that more productions outside can have access to audio, and the audio people have access to the production side, and everyone has, like, you know, that middle ground to work with. That's the end of the day. At the end of the day, you know, it's just for better production and better work, right? So, of course, if you are more extreme, you can design your own soundscape, right? Based on an industry level. So, of course, these things are very well, you know, higher level of curation, knows it is our workflow. These are very important, but I think the most important was, you know, instead of going to Fiverr and hire 50 different people, getting that one good sound does wonders for you, right? And the benefits go on forever for about, like, you know, this much. Yeah, you can just check out that page that I just pinned, and let's go on to Q&A. I am very happy to answer any of your questions right now. Just feel free to type it in chat, and yeah, I'll answer you. If not, you know, you can contact me here. Why is there nothing here? And it is a presentation. All right, here you go. You can contact me here. Look at my discography and all that. Unfortunately, I don't have OnlyFans. Sorry about that. So yeah, you know, do let me know, like, you know, if there are any questions that you guys would like to ask. It was a 1.5 hour of things, right? Yeah, I mean, like, you know, if you guys want my OnlyFans, I guess I could have it. No, actually, let's not do that. All right, I see a question. Usually, is it better to lay out the sound design or SFX first before laying down the music? By coincidence. I like your name. I really do. Let's see. So, let me just give you, like, an idea here, right? This is a question of, like, you know, you know what? You guys can find this later. I'm just gonna put this here so I can shield my workshop. All right, cool. So all right. So is it better to lay out the sound design or SFX first before laying down the music? I would say it depends on the project that you're working for. So I'll give you an example situation. All right, if you're working on a musical, the music comes first, no doubt. The music must always come first, because without the music, you can't even film. And then the moment you have your vertical slice, that means your video, your final cut, right? Then you can do your sound effects. But if you're doing something like A Quiet Place, the sound effects come first, right? But if you're doing a documentary and infographics, your voice will come up first. And then sometimes in a documentary, you might not even need sound effects until you go down to, like, the scenes where, people are working on something. Like, say you're doing an infographics on farming, then yes, sound effects for that. Dun, dun, dun. And TTM asks, does all the voices recorded live or afterward? Are voiced recorded live or afterwards? Now, this is a question on dubbing. For those of you who are here, like, doing voiceover, like in the case of the examples that I showed you earlier, yes, those voices were recorded after they were dubbed over the original one, and we had somebody to sync the voice. It's just how it is, right? So, you can record it live, or you can just, there's a very rare opportunity that we get to use the live voice. We can, but there's going to be a lot of cleanup to do, and lots of time. It just might not sound that great unless you're doing, like, what do you call, a broadcast, right? Like, live broadcast of, like, a game show where you have to edit the sound for that and you craft the soundscape. You can use, like, sweeteners and all that to enhance the moments, but you can't really enhance the voiceover, right? So you have to sort of use the live voice recording from that one. So it's a conditional thing, right? Great questions, though. Great questions. I love those questions. Any more questions? Q&A. Cool. Thank you for the questions. So I'm just gonna count to maybe like 10, and let's see if we get any more questions. In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you again for coming. Feel free to contact me from here or anywhere. And, you guys have been a wonderful audience. Thank you very much. Awesome. All right. And once again, apologies for the scuff earlier. You guys are amazing staying here all the way. All right. If you need me for anything, if you want commissions, if you want inquiries, feel free to contact me at elmer.inquiries and so on. You can reach me via Discord if you type in Elmer Draco, but contact me on Twitter, right? Follow me on Twitter. I'm usually there sometimes. All right. Thank you for coming, and I'm going to end the stream in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.